Hi, my name is Dan. I finished last in my fantasy football league last year. This week, I'm talking about draft strategy. Maybe it seems strange to get draft advice from the guy who finished last in his league, but I don't think my drafts have been the issue. I usually feel good about my starters. It's often in-season adjustments that hurt me, especially in the case of injuries. In the case my drafts are part of the problem, this isn't just who am I going to draft review. When prepping for our draft last year, I used Fantasy Pros League Sync feature to get a better understanding of what players would be available when I picked. I also did a draft analysis, and one of the most interesting points to me is that it said players in our league were taking available players early relative to their average draft position. I don't know if that's partially due to it being a keeper league, so it looks like a player taken in the first round isn't a first round pick, it's really a fifth round. But one thing I had noticed in the past is I'd wait one more round on a player and often find they were gone before he got back to me. That could be others taking players early, could also be me trying to be too clever. Average draft position is the easy way to decide when you should take a player. Any fantasy football website is going to provide this info based on mock drafts they've seen and some expert opinions. So it takes very little effort on anyone's part. They've already done that work for you. There are also many charts ranking players overall or by position that again can help narrow your focus. Even with that easy info, you'll want to figure out which of these players fits your lineup, especially in a keeper league. If you kept 2 QBs and Josh Allen is available, having 3 QBs before you select any other position is questionable. To be fair, if you have the opportunity to draft Josh Allen, the real question is why you kept 2 QBs. I'm simply using that to illustrate my point. I do think average draft position is important, as well as player rankings, but they're best used once you understand the value of each position within your league. I used that knowledge one year to win our league. Yes, I have won in the past, and it was because when I looked at average points from each position, I found that QBs were way overpowered in our league. That surprised me in a PPR league, but we were starting 2 QBs at the time, and a high completion QB could outscore other positions on completed passing alone. I'd be outscoring the best receivers before factoring in either yards or touchdowns. Yes, that scoring system was crazy, and we've since adjusted QB scoring to level the playing field. While my explanation may have been simple there, finding the answer wasn't. And I took a lot of time looking at projected and previous year stats with our scoring system at the time to make that determination. Fortunately, this is easier now as websites can create rankings and projections for you. You might find gems that others overlook. With the variety of leagues out there, it's difficult to give a one-size-fits-all plan. Instead, I'm going to give my evaluation of our league to illustrate my point for this year. I started by looking at the average points scored per week of the top 20 players at each position. No serious magic here, just look at the top 20 players from last year's season, average the season totals, divide by 17 games, and that results in a priority of QB, running back, wide receiver, tight end, defense, kicker. I've already said quarterback is important in our league. This just backs it up with some data. So really nothing surprising here. That doesn't mean you should just go draft 2 QBs like I did one year early on. Quarterback position is on average going to provide the most points. But the top scoring QB last year had 200 more points than the 20th scoring QB. And 7 running backs outscored that same 20th scoring QB. So there will be a point it makes more sense to go with a running back or wide receiver over quarterback, and that is the real trick to developing your strategy. It's helpful to know that the top 6 scoring QBs outscored the top scoring running back, or that the top tight end scored more than 100 points than the second scoring tight end. Or maybe that past the top 7 scoring wide receivers, they averaged similar points and outscored all but the top 2 scoring tight ends. That knowledge will help you understand when to deviate and find value picks. With ranking sheets, I've seen these called tiers, where the top 6 ranked QBs are tier 1, the next 4 are tier 2, and so on. Combining those tier rankings with an idea of scoring values will better help you know when it's better to take a tier 1 running back instead of a tier 2 quarterback. What's the Mike Tyson quote? Everyone has a plan until they get hit. Now, I hope your fantasy drafts doesn't include literal fighting, but the point is, whatever idea you develop pre-draft, you still have to pay attention to what others are doing. Having one of the top 5 running backs or wide receivers is a serious advantage. If other players have selected 4 of the top 5, and your plan is to take a quarterback, you have to look at whether it makes more sense to take that top 5 running back instead. Knowing the drop-off between tiers of each position can help you make that decision. If the next available QB is at the top of tier 2, you may be better off with the top 5 running back and a lower tier 2 QB than the top tier 2 QB and a running back at the bottom of tier 2. If a good player is available, take the player when you can, or finish last.